Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Servants. I was about halfway through writing the Nightingale episode when the new characters attached to the Gouda Gouda event in JP dropped. And let me say, we've got some heavy hitters with us. The new Izo costume has me acting some kind of way, and Ranmaru's crazy eyes are adorable and terrifying. But I recognized a name that I hadn't heard since my Japanese culture class in college, Izumo no Okuni. For those outside of Japan, you likely do not recognize this name, but you do recognize her achievements and likely have enjoyed some of the fruits of her labor. Ushiwakamaru and Benki, this sound effect, and this iconic makeup style were popularized by Izumo. That's right, she was the creator of the theater form that we now know as kabuki. For the record, I am aware that Ushiwakamaru and Benki were actual historical figures. However, the kabuki play that they appear in, Kanjincho, is incredibly popular, hence why Ushi is described in Fate as being known throughout all of Japan. But what does it look like to be the progenitor of an entirely new art form? Well, let's look into the life and times of Izumo no Okuni. Izumo was born in 1578, slap in the middle of Nobu's takeover of Japan, to a blacksmith. She lived in a small community near the Izumo Shrine, where she would eventually come to work as a shrine maiden, or miko. To understand why Izumo started a theater form that revolves entirely around dancing and exaggerated movements, you have to understand what exactly a miko is. In modern media, they are most often depicted in one of two ways. A quiet girl who sweeps leaves and looks at a leaf flying in the anime intro, or they fight ghosts with talismans and shikigami. While a miko may do both of these things, their job is actually much more grandiose. In Shintoism, mikos were originally something closer to a shaman, or a spiritual leader. They acted as a direct conduit between the common folk and divine spirit that resided within the shrine. Sometimes they would become possessed by this divine spirit in order to allow it to communicate with people. Another function that they served, and still do to this day, is dance. There are several reasons why miko dance. One is an offering to the kami of the shrine, another is a form of meditation to commune with the divine, yet another is simply done for ceremonial purposes. This latter dance is known as kagura. The art of dancing was something that shrine maidens would master, as the better the dance, the more pleased the kami or crowds would be. Fun non-fate related fact, but still relevant to the reach of this tradition, the Okami enemies in From Software's Sekiro Shadows Die Twice can be seen doing these dances. The over-exaggerated movements are important to note, as these will become the cornerstone to Kabuki's unique performance style. Izumo was good at dancing. Incredibly good at dancing, in fact. She was widely renowned for her beauty and skill, and, as it was the tradition of the time, she was sent to Kyoto, the then capital of Japan, to perform her sacred dances. While in Kyoto, she used her beauty and dancing abilities to slightly modify a folk dance to a rather seductive performance which was incredibly popular with the crowd. She would also perform skits and acts of a similar nature to get the crowd to laugh and became increasingly invested in her show. In a way, this was her 16th century version of going on tour. Her shows were so popular that she was able to make a successful living off of them, and when the time had come for her to return to the shrine, she ignored it and began sending money back to them instead. Okuni wanted to expand her show, so in 1603 she began to get lower class women to join her performance. These women were oftentimes the dregs of society, prostitutes, weirdos, and outcasts, and she trained them in the art of singing, dancing, and acting. For the time period, this was completely unheard of, and people loved it. Izumo was not the one to dub her style of dance and theater, but those who watched her did. It is unknown really where the term kabuki comes from, but all possible meanings derive from the over-exaggeration that comes with it. Given the type of performers that she brought with her, and the fact that they were all female, the beginnings of kabuki were slandered as being overly sexual with no evident plot, much like a pole dance. However, those who watched could not deny that the performances were extremely well done, and the beautiful use of color and exaggeration made them fun to watch, much like a pole dance. As time went on, they would incorporate more true storytelling into their performances, and would begin to travel more. The fame of the group grew, and they would travel between brothels and theater areas, performing for wealthy guests and occasionally recruiting more members. As their stories became more complex, they had women play male parts, which was both humorous and attractive to the audience. This style of kabuki would be named after Izumo, being called Okuni Kabuki. One of Okuni's best shows involved who she claimed was once her lover, the deceased samurai Nagoya Sanzaburo. Izumo would sing beautifully and dance in an attempt to resurrect his spirit so they could be together again. An actress would then rise up dressed as the samurai, and the pair would romantically dance together once more. Now, I say claimed to be her lover as there is no historical evidence that the two were ever actually romantically involved. However, this truth is lost to history. Izumo no Okuni would retire from the stage in 1610. Some believe that she died this very same year, but in actuality she just kind of vanished from history. Her actual death or cause of death are unknown as of now, but her legacy lives on today. That being said, however, in 1629, Tokugawa Iemitsu, the shogun, was forced to put the kibosh on kabuki. Men were coming to kabuki shows to try and win the favor of the most beautiful actresses, and as such, the shows were beginning to devolve into a madhouse. Thus, Iemitsu completely forbade women from performing kabuki. This is a tradition that still holds true today, where kabuki is primarily performed by males, though there are notable exceptions, such as the modern all-female group, the Takarazuka Review, though their repertoire does expand further than kabuki. But that is where Izumo no Okuni ends. However, we are not done quite yet. There is a part of her design that is worth bringing up, as it is another art form from Japan, though not one directly associated with kabuki. That is her samurai puppet, very likely modeled after Nagoya Sanzaburo. This puppet is controlled by a very old form of robotics known as Karakuri. These dolls worked using clockwork mechanisms that allowed them to perform simple routine tasks, such as pick up an arrow, knock it, and then shoot it. Others were able to pour tea and perform other neat little tricks. Kato Danzo in FGO is one of these dolls, albeit a fully robotic one. So, I foresee some sort of interaction between the two characters in some capacity. I'm sure it's out there, but as my Japanese is not fluent enough to read the text, just let me know if my predictions land anywhere. But that's it, Izumo no Okuni in the books. I won't lie, I saw this character get announced and I really wanted to talk about her because she is such an influential character in Japanese theater. I apologize this is a fairly short one, unfortunately there's not much known about her. But for now, thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you thought in the comments. If there is a servant that you would like me to cover, please let me know. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to catch these when they come out, share it with your friends and teachers, but until next time, keep your chin up. Peace.